What's up and welcome to the Kind of Funny Gamescast for Tuesday, May 20th, 2025. Of course, I'm your host, Tim Geddes. I'm joined today by Blessing Adeoye Jr.
Good day, Tim.
Good day to you. It's a great day, actually.
Yeah?
It's a very rare time that me and you are in this very position where we are reviewing a, all things considered, new game.
Yeah.
But like not at embargo, but it is like our official reviews of the game. Like while the game's still kind of in the conversation,
still
the
relevant.
discourse is still relevant. Like it's kind of a fun place to be. Obviously, you and I, very busy men for different reasons, gallivanting the globe. You literally going all the way to Japan.
Yep.
I went to Vegas for WrestleMania. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was a lot going on. But no, because of all of that, we weren't able to be here and actually be on the review for Clair Obscur Expedition 33 with the rest of the crew. But it's also cool because there was a lot of voices. It's not that common that the majority of Kind of Funny are all into a game enough to prioritize playing through it for a review conversation, let alone a spoiler conversation.
I feel like usually when that's the case, we're talking about the game of the year.
Usually,
you know what I mean?
yeah, it's usually the case.
It's the game of the year.
Yeah, and that I feel also is there's a couple factors at play there. Normally, I would say PlayStation games. There was a lot PlayStation Studios games. A lot of the gamers here tend to like those type of games.
Big budget, prestige, narrative, action adventure. Yeah.
In addition to that, PlayStation are usually very good about getting us as many codes as we want.
Yep.
Whereas on the Nintendo side, we normally don't get that. We get one code per game, no matter how good it is, which I do think, definitely hinders our ability to have multiple people having big conversations about the games in the moment that they're coming out. Mm-hmm. And there's been exceptions to this, but often we don't end up doing a full multi-person review of big Nintendo games just because like the conversation kind of like moves on a little bit, right? Then there's the Xbox side of it. Xbox are amazing about getting us codes. I just feel like we're still kind of in the point of the Xbox games being a little bit more tailored to interests.
Yeah, like not everybody here is going to play Doom. You know what I mean? Not everybody here is going to play a Hellblade or South of Midnight, I think, got the good majority of
Yeah,
this.
that's a good point. Yeah.
But it's like, it's kind of here or there as far as what Xbox games are going to speak to all of us at the same time.
Yeah, and so for a game like this to come out and to have all of us so interested, so many people like fighting to be on the review, like there was so much interest that it was like, oh man, we have more than enough people and conversations to have around this game, and the audience wants more and more conversations about this game, which I think is very special and cool. So I'm happy to be here with you and have this space to be able to talk about all this stuff today, and that's what we're going to be talking about, everybody. Clair Obscur Expedition 33. You'll be getting me and Bless's official reviews on the game on the Kind of Funny scale, but also getting into our spoiler thoughts. We will make it very clear when we're getting into spoilers. We will keep it top level, review friendly, and all that stuff in the beginning, and then we will let you know, because this is the Kind of Funny Gamescast. Each and every weekday we get together to talk about video games, all the things we love about them, the things we don't like about them, and everything in between. If you like that, you can get the Kind of Funny membership and get the show ad-free. You also get a daily exclusive Greg Way. Today, it's a big one. Greg is talking for 24 minutes about the best and worst feedback he's ever gotten from mentors. I'm sure that's going to be a very fun one to check out if you are a Kind of Funny member. Shout out to our Patreon producers, Carl Jacobs, Omega Buster, and Delaney Twining. They're going to be able to hang out just like you can during our Kind of Funny happy hour later today. All of our $25 level Patreon members get to be a part of that. You can actually call in and talk to us. Or if you can't be live, you can just watch that later exclusively at that level on Patreon. A little housekeeping for you. You already got an episode of Games Daily with me and Greg. Then after this, the stream is going to be Mike and Roger finishing Death Stranding. They're actually going to do it. They made it so close to the end during their marathon stream, but now they're actually taking it across the finish line. Today we're brought to you by Subway Surfers and Factor, but we'll tell you all about that later. Let's begin with the topic of the show. Remember, get all of your super chats in. If you have your review of this game and want us to talk about it, please send that in. If you have questions, if you want to get our thoughts on anything specific about the game, please super chat them in and we'll get to all of those. But I want to start with you, Bless. You've played Expedition 33.
I have.
You've beat Expedition 33.
I have.
When?
2 days ago.
Okay, so
and
it
then
is fresh on the mind.
And then again yesterday.
And then again yesterday.
And again yesterday. I had to reload my save, experience the ending one more time.
Of course. Bless.
Yes.
On the kind of funny scale, what would you give Clair Obscur Expedition 33?
This is tough because I go back and forth between a 9 and a 9.5. I'm not at a 10. I think for now I'm gonna settle in on a 9 out of 10 for this game. I love that facial expression you're giving me.
I just want to cut you off real quick, Bless, because I just want to say I'm somewhere between a 9 and a 9.5.
Yep.
I can't give it a 10, but please continue.
I mean, I think when we talk about video games, we often, and especially in a review sense, I think we often want to talk about the whole. We want to talk about like the whole within W, you know what I mean? We want to talk about the entire product and how it results at the end thing, because at the end of the day, video games are the entire package, the gameplay, the story, the art, how it all molds together. However, for how I want to start off talking about Expedition 33 for my review, right? I want to talk about it in parts because I do think that is where this game shines the most, where I look at the parts, I look at the combat and how well fleshed out the turn-based combat is, how each character has their own combat system and their own style of combat that are each very inspired, right? I think it's one thing to be toward the beginning of the game and have a new party member and go, oh, okay, they got a different thing going on, and then kind of find that to be cool, versus being in the, let's say, second half of the game and looking at a character and being like, oh, this is inspired by Devil May Cry. Oh, this is inspired by this. Oh, you want me to think about using this character in this specific ways, let alone looking at the Pictos and Lumina system, right? Which is all how almost the entirety of how you upgrade your character and add special abilities and all this stuff, right? How that stuff layers with, status effects and applying burn, but your other character has this thing that if you attack them while they have burn, they then get +2 AP, which allows them to use their special moves quicker, right? Like, it all builds on top of each other in a very cool and fascinating way. I made a tweet last night, or a post on Blue Sky, I should say, last night, that there's some game, or pretty much me playing any game is me playing it and being like, man, this would go hard in a roguelite mode. And that was inspired by me playing Clair Obscur Expedition 33 and being like, oh, dude, this combat system could be really fun, like if you roguelitized it, right? And that's more so me being like, I fucking love this combat system. I just want to get into the combat. I think that part of the game is excellent. When you talk about story and characters, my God. My God. They do such a good job of pulling your interest from the get-go. That prologue segment, I played it alongside a friend, right? And we were watching it and we were like, yo, this is fucking awesome. I love how from the get-go, in the first couple of hours of the game, you invoked certain feelings I had toward the end of Infinity War, right? Like, the fact that you can pull that out of me and then I think sustain a lot of wonder, a lot of interest in, all right, what is this world? What's going on? And then really deliver later on in the game as far as really fleshing out this world in ways that you wouldn't expect. It reminds me of the words they said a lot during the Nintendo Store preview that we got to go to. They used the words surprise and delight. This game surprised and delighted me at so many moments of the story's twists and turns, made me fall in love with the characters. I love the utter grim tone of it, or I don't know if grim is the right word, like dour tone of it, right? It's a sad fucking world. It's a sad fucking story. There is death and there is a lot of hopelessness. And I don't know, I like when worlds kind of live in that stuff to make you really appreciate when you do have the warm moments, or characters sharing stories with each other, or characters having sharing friendship, sharing romance, having these moments. That stuff is uplifted so much when you're surrounded by fucking death and destruction. And I think this game does that so well. But then the last part I want to touch on is the art and the presentation of it. This game is so good to look at. It does, I'm a big fan of Persona 5, one of the best looking games I've ever played. I'll say the same for Metaphor ReFantazio as far as what those games bring in terms of art style and UI and all that stuff. You could tell that this game was inspired, not directly as far as what it does art style wise, but I think inspired as far as how hard you should be able to go, or how hard you should go to really uplift that stuff. When you look at the combat UI and you see kind of the ink animation coming off of certain parts of the UI and how in motion everything looks, and how the choreography of the moves look fucking sick, and then the timing thing of the quick time events, how cool that looks. It all just comes together so well, let alone the environments, let alone how dreamy and weird everything looks, but in a way that still comes together and really fits the mold of what they're doing with this world. This game for me was just so amazing to look at from beginning to end. I didn't even talk about the soundtrack. Soundtrack's fucking awesome.
Oh my God.
Yeah. This game does so many good things. That said, I do have critiques here and there, and like stuff that's not even just like super minor, like stuff that I think really could have been figured out. Things like, I think, orienting the player as far as where you need to go. And I think that's both in when you're in the levels and you go to a save point and come out of it and being like, all right, everything kind of looks the same. So which way was I going? There are quite a few times where I think the game would benefit from either a waypoint or a mini map or something. Like, I don't know what the solution is, but I think there's a solution that they could have happened upon to orient the player in the right way. And then also, like, there are parts toward the latter half of the game, even the last third of the game, where I'm looking at the overworld map and I'm like, okay, where have I been? Like, what's the right place to go? I think they had all the ingredients there, but I think small things as far as pointing the player in a direction, or maybe like a menu that is like, all right, you've done this, this, and this. This is what you have left to do. I don't know. Small things here and there could have helped there. But yeah, overall, fucking love this game. Tim, what about you?
Bless. I mean, me and you agree about a lot of things.
Yeah.
It's rare, though, that I'm like literally right exactly where you are. Every single thing you just said, I am right there. I would give this game a 9.5 out of 10 because of the little things that you're talking about, I think do add up to me as, oh, they hindered my experience. And it really could have enhanced it that bit more because everything else in this game has me absolutely transfixed. Jake Baldino and I were talking in Los Angeles last week, and he said something better than I ever could. I never would have been able to put this into words, but the moment he said it to me, I was like, that's exactly how I feel about this game. It's so rare that a new world is introduced to us that immediately we're like, I want everything. I want comic books. I want the anime.
Yep.
I want the movie. I want the sequel. I want the DLC. I want the... And that's what this is for me. Like this reminds me of being a little kid and wanting to know every single thing about every character and backstory that I might have missed from the game or whatever. I cared so freaking much. Playing this game made me feel that way as a 35-year-old man that has played so many video games since Final Fantasy X in 2001.
Yep.
And I don't know that there has been a game that's made me this all in on its world and characters and just wanting to know more. And that was true from the jump of this game. Like you're saying, that prologue immediately gets you hooked. But throughout the entire game, the twists and the turns and the way that it just keeps giving you more and more and more, I was absolutely enthralled from moment one. And that's just talking about the story and characters and world. You add on the gameplay here. And oh man, every single battle is fun. Every single random enemy feels like it matters, feels like you're getting better at the game. You feel like such a badass when you pull off a parry. And that's just the gameplay, right? And you were saying this, but the moment that a new character is added to your team, you are immediately like, okay, cool, but I got my squad. Yeah, I'm going to stick with my squad. And then something will happen and be like, all right, this enemy's doing this a lot. I wonder if this strategy will work. I'm going to pull them off the bench. Let's see what happens. And all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute.
Oh yeah.
That's how that works? And then all of a sudden your main team is a totally different looking squad. You know, then eventually you get the Charlie's Angels and you stick with the three women. You're just like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But I love the flexibility there. I love the costumes. I love the way that this game drives me to want to explore every nook and cranny to make sure that I'm getting every piece of outfit for each person, so I get to choose how my team looks. Like, it's the little things that feel like they add up and matter. The amount of Pictos and all that stuff that are just everywhere throughout the world, and you see all the different abilities. And you're like, how? This is so overwhelming.
Very overwhelming.
And it continues to be overwhelming. Yeah. Right? But as you continue to play through it, you start to understand it more. And you start to see how the different strategies can place and how the passive abilities are adding up across your entire team. And then you're facing enemies that feel like they need that. And then you hit this point that you're just absolutely destroying people. And are you that damn good? Or are you just kind of doing what the game wanted you to do? Either way, it feels right? Yeah. It is, and it feels backed by the story and backed by what's happening. I'm so impressed with this. I do really think, though, that I see in the chat already, and I know that people disagree about this, but I do think this game needed a mini-map. I do think that even on the world map, it needed a bit more than just a compass of northeast, west, and south. So many amazing decisions in this game, and I understand that there are a lot of things guiding you that doesn't stop the fact that I got lost a lot.
Yes.
And that was the only times I wasn't having fun with this game. So it's like,
Yeah.
but there was enough of that I'm like, all right, it did get in my way. But like, man, this team, Sandfall Interactive, what the fuck magic did they just do?
Where did you come from? You know what I mean? I think one of the things that, as you were talking, right, lit up in me was as you were talking about how you want to be in this world. You want the comics, you want the adaptations. Like, you know, I'm sure if they made they sent us like little figurines of the characters, we'd probably fight over them as far as who at this office wants them at their desk, right? Like, I think part of that too is as you're playing this game, you can tell from a team of like human beings that want to put themselves in the game. And like, I know I could probably say that for any video game, but there's something about this one where it's both. I think the fact that I'm sure you, Tim, as you're playing this game, you're probably identifying so many different inspirations. It's like, oh, okay, there's some Final Fantasy VII remake here. Oh, there's some Final Fantasy X here.
Oh, 10,
for me, it was like I saw so much Nier, right? Like,
yeah.
there's so many different different JRPGs that they're pulling from, let alone, like I mentioned, Devil May Cry, or like I'm sure a billion other different inspirations. So I think it's that you can tell that it's from people who are fans of video games, but then the French culture of it all, I think really gives this such a unique edge as far as, oh, you guys really put yourselves in this video game. Like, you guys really wanted to tell a story that only this studio located in France could tell.
Absolutely. And I was saying this in my early hours playing on the different pieces of content I was on, but I was just like, I didn't know the French had it that way. Like, real talk, it's like I didn't know that the style was there. These characters, their outfits, the way they talk, the way they interact with each other, just the world itself. Like, there's something I'm like, oh man, I have never in my life really been interested in visiting France, period. And now I'm like, you know what?
Dude, I have the exact same thing. As soon as credits hit, I was like, yo, I kind of want to go to Paris.
This game oozes culture. Like there's like a voice to it. And you mentioning all the inspirations, like they're so clear, whether it's in gameplay, story, characters, or just like visuals, right? Like obviously the Persona kind of battle system, UI at the very least. But I look at so much of this, the way the weapons the magic comes out and like just looks, it looks like Final Fantasy 15, like as cool as Final Fantasy 15 looked.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, it plays the way that I wish that one did. Like there's something about this that I'm just like, I'm so into how the combat works between each of the characters and the way that the attacks look and the camera moves when you do the dodges, you do the parry, and then when you go into for the big team attack, like it feels like you're doing something sick. And yes, a lot of this is QTEs, but why are we praising it so much? Because it's them done perfectly.
Yes, right? Like, it's not about the randomization of it. It really is. Like, I guess I don't know what it is about these QTEs that does work so well for me. Because I think I mentioned to you before that, weirdly enough, you know, I love action games. I like turn-based games. But weirdly enough, when I'm playing a Mario RPG and I have to do the time button press with the turn-based stuff, it breaks my brain a little bit, and I don't know why. But here, like, my brain adjusted to it so well partway through the game. At first, I was still struggling a little bit. But, like, once I got used to it, there's something about it that just feels right. And maybe it is just the coolness factor of seeing the animation and then the sound design being like the ka-ka, and then like being able to hit it on time and seeing the perfect, seeing the critical hit, seeing the yellow text. They nailed that. Like they nailed how to make a player feel good in doing that.
Yeah, man. They really do. And, you know, we didn't even talk about performances.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Like this is the type of game that here we are in May, right? And we said this earlier, but this is the first game from Sandfall Interactive, right? And we heard about this less than a year ago for the very first time at Xbox's showcase in the summer. And we all looked at it and we're like, okay, this is cool as hell, but like this is so ambitious. No way they pulled this off. Well, here we are. They pulled it off. And I think the conversation is, what categories of the Game Awards are they not going to be nominated for? Because real talk, I feel like going down the line, you could fit this into so many different places. And my question is, who gets nominated for best performance? Because there's too many great options, right? You think about the soundtrack of this. Yeah, damn, this is going up there. And guess what, Bless? This will be nominated for Game of the Year, if not winning Game of the Year. And that means we're hearing the soundtrack performed by the orchestra at the Game Awards.
Oh my gosh, the Clair Obscur.
Come on, dude.
Oh my gosh.
I've been listening to it nonstop. And like, it's...
I mean, that's, for me, that is the mark of a great soundtrack, especially a great JRPG soundtrack is how quickly do I go over to Spotify or to YouTube and look up certain songs from it. And yeah, there are 2 songs from the I think Flying Waters level that I have on repeat all the time right now that are in my Spotify playlist. But it's that plus like, I think another mark of a good soundtrack is when I'm in the moment, right? When you have that swell of emotion happening and the music is hitting just right. And there's so many moments in the last hours of the game where there's like a French choir just going off. And I'm just listening to it as like the action is building or like these moments are building in the game. And I'm just in it.
Yep.
And I'm like, I don't think I've heard anything like this in video games before.
Yeah. Again, it goes back to there's a unique style here. And like, we've talked on a lot of different shows about like the making of this and the more information that kind of comes out in the last month for this game. But like the composer was found on SoundCloud.
Crazy.
Right? Like the writer was found on Reddit. Like this is just such a special moment. And I'm just so happy that a video game can come out now when I feel like we needed it most. You know what I mean? A new IP that we can all just rally behind, and like one of the highest, if not the highest rated Metacritic game of all time. At least it was it was for a moment. I don't know if it still is right now, but like a couple weeks ago, yeah, it was. Like, dang, man, that's wild. And I look at that, and going into this review, I've been thinking a lot about what am I going to give it on our scale.
Yeah.
And it was hard for me because I hear all this like Metacritic #1 and all that stuff. I'm like, really? Is it really? Like, are we really putting this up there? That seems a little hyperbolic. And then I keep thinking about it, I'm like, but do I disagree? You know what I mean? Like, there's something there where it's like real talk. My criticisms come down to the some just annoyances, quality of life stuff that I think they can easily patch and fix.
Yeah.
I think there's just a couple options they can give that would just enhance this experience. And just to explain a little further my problems with the navigation and all this is I wanted to explore everything. So I feel like they're trying to find every nook and cranny and like hill and mountaintop and rock to climb and all that stuff to find all of the hidden stuff, which there's a lot all over the world. I think that is what gets you lost. The game does a good job of guiding you exactly where you need to go, like with the lampposts and all that stuff. But the moment you're trying to go off the path, I think it gets a little too easy to get turned around.
Yeah.
Because while each area is incredibly beautiful, each area kind of looks very similar.
Exactly. That's my big thing, right? Where I think as far as like, could it use a mini map? Could it not? Right? Like I understand either or. I think even if you don't have a mini map, I still think navigation is just an issue from, like the levels look cool as fuck, but when you're in a level, like the Flying Waters, like over this area over here all the way to the right looks like this area all the way to the left. And like when I go down the optional path to get something, I'll come back and I'm like, oh fuck, all right, which way am I going? Because this looks like it. There's so many times where I was just running in circles, especially specifically in the Flying Waters, I think actually, where I'm just like going and going. I'm like, where? And then I realized the right path is like, oh, I had to do the grappling hook thing that's way over here. All right, cool. Now I'm on the right thing, right? But I think it's tough. I think the arts, it's the gift and the curse of the art style, where the art style is throwing so much at you as far as the environments and how broken everything is and how abstract everything is. That's fucking cool to look at. But yeah, sometimes it makes it tough as far as, all right, I passed the building that's sideways over here and like the weird looking trees over here, but they have that over there too. Like I think that would be the thing to figure out. I'm sure if they make a sequel, which I don't know if they'll make a sequel, but
we're getting a sequel, baby.
You think so?
Oh, 100%.
I hope so.
Yes. Real quick, Golgoth in the chat says, this is why there's no mini-map. You want to visit everything because this world's insane. So providing a map or a mini-map would go against the idea of searching for new stuff to discover on the world map. In my opinion, and we're all entitled to our own opinion on this stuff, I don't think I have so much glowing things to say about the world. I don't think that any of the areas are that interesting. They're very clearly like video game designed paths, right? You're just going in paths. This game is as linear as Final Fantasy X or Final Fantasy 13. I love those games for that reason. But like, let's not over exaggerate like how well designed the world is. Like this is not an Elden Ring type thing.
Yeah.
In my opinion, thank God. But I don't think a mini map gets in the way of that. I think in fact it enhances going through a bunch of very pretty hallways.
And honestly, like even if it's not a mini map, just a map for when you're in the levels. Like if I press the touchpad or whatever, just bring up
absolutely
like just let me just know like where I'm going or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's like not even my main critique. I know that was the first thing I brought up, right? But like I think for me it also goes back to things like Pictos and Luminas, and I love those systems, except for, like you mentioned earlier, how overwhelming they can be, especially when I go into, I always get them mixed up. I think it's the Luminas where you can...
I get them messed up too, man.
Yeah. The ones that you can equip after you do a certain number of battles and then you go in and you have like 50 points or whatever that you allocate, there's so much that you can equip and so much to manage. And at times my brain would love it because I love getting into the nitty gritty. I love being in menus and being like, okay, well, if I have this character that can start off with rush, but then also apply powerless, but then also if they do their base attack, they can do burn. And like, I love going through all of that. But at the same time, when I'm managing a number of different characters, and I am acquiring Pictos at like such a quick rate because there's so many of them.
Yeah.
It starts to build up in a way where it becomes unwieldy. It becomes
specifically in the menus.
In the menus, yeah. So like that's another one. And like I think it is the compounding of a lot of small things that I think bring me back from the 10 out of 10. Plus, like it wasn't like the giving a game a number obviously is arbitrary, but also tough in ways for me where a lot of the time when I'm giving a game a 10, I have to ask myself, is this the greatest video game I've ever played? Because if I'm leaning on a yes, then I'm like, okay, this is a 10 out of 10. If I'm not leaning towards a yes, then I'm like, all right, 9.5, 9 out of 10. And that's kind of where I'm at with Clair Obscur, where they're the small things, but then also this game blew my mind in so many ways. I'm not like, this is the greatest thing I've ever played, but it's in the conversation for maybe top 40 things I've ever played, right? Which is for me very high.
Yeah. I'm with you. I feel like just based on this conversation, I might be even a little higher than you are on it. Where I do think that this is, the reviewing a game and the conversation of best and favorite and all of this, there is some mix there, right? And I think that they're different things. Because while I would give this game a 9.5, mainly because I do have some concrete problems that I have with the game that I really think could be and should be addressed that are there and that got in the way of my incredibly positive experience. On the other hand, I'm going to remember this game forever, and I feel like I can recommend this game to the majority of people I know that like video games, and they're going to have a great time with it. Like, this game has all of the stuff. I mean, my best friend Curran, I've known him most of my life at this point. I've played games with him, and like he is like my gaming guy when it comes to just like my kind of coming of age into taking video games more seriously than just, me and Kevin playing as when we were little kids, like on the Nintendo. It's like, oh, we're like thinking and caring about video games in a very different way. And a lot of that was bonding over Final Fantasy 7 and 10. And I often will give him codes for games, and they're usually Spider-Man 2 or God of War, things that are these known quantities. This is the first time I've ever given him a code and been like, I'm giving you this, download it, play it. I promise you're going to love it. Don't look into it at all. It is now one of his top 3 favorite games of all time.
That's fucking awesome.
And he just kept texting me like updates as he's playing. And that's another special thing about this game. That's just a story about my one friend. The amount of people I know that have been texting me about this game as they got through Act 1, got through Act 2, like et cetera, et cetera. This shit's special, man. Like this shit, and I'm not alone. I know a lot of people here, like we're having these check-ins with people in our lives because we're all experiencing something incredibly special. This story is awesome.
I was surprised when I went to Yusuf's house to hang out, or his apartment to hang out, right? And like one of the first things he asked me was, he was like, "Are you playing a Clair Obscur?" And he was like, "Dude, I'm halfway through it. It's fucking sick." And I was like, "Oh, like I don't think about this being the type of game that you play, which it might be, but I like." The fact that
he loved Final Fantasy 10. He's a man of taste and culture.
A good point. That's a really good point. So yeah, this is actually tailored for him. But the fact that Yusuf like randomly brought it up, I was like, oh shit, all right, this is like hidden for people. Like this is making the rounds. And I do think like the more I think about this game and the more I see people talk about it and the more I just talk about it myself, right? Like I think this is gonna be one of the ones that has like a breakout. I'm sure it already has had breakout success, right? But like I think continues to have that. Mm-hmm. I think this is one of those games that strikes me as, oh, you've done everything you needed to like hit that level of special for people. And like not just for a specific audience, I'm talking about for a wide audience of people. Like I think there's a lot of people that are going to play Clair Obscur who probably don't play JRPGs or probably don't vibe with turn-based stuff as much that are going to vibe with it because it does so much right. I
mean, and not only does so much right, it does so much the same, but more importantly, so much different. This is through and through a traditional JRPG, but it has a hyper-realistic style, and it doesn't let that get in the way of the enemies you fight being these gigantic, insane monsters. This feels like playing a vintage pixel based Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Where you're this little guy going up against this giant monster, but it doesn't feel weird, even though visually it should. But it's like they build the world so well that it just kind of feels like we don't see things like this that often, right? Like it's just like I
think tonally
there are examples of it, but
sure. And like I think also tonally, to the same point you're making, it is a turn-based game that has quick time events where you're fighting big monsters and going through a fantasy world. And tonally, it keeps this shit so serious. Like this game is so like real when it comes to the subject matter and like how it tackles topics of grief and like even certain cinematic choices that don't even feel video game inspired. This feels inspired by some, I'm sure, like critically acclaimed French movie from 1940. Like the ways in which they use framing and like the aspect ratio like changes or it goes into grayscale or like the presentation is so interesting and cool and it feels like they understand the art of what they're doing here and the fact that like, oh, just because we're making something that inherently I think lends itself toward being a bit more like lighthearted and goofy or whatever, which it has those moments.
From Software says it's also really funny.
It's also really funny and really goofy.
It's really funny and really goofy in that classic way that we love, but it doesn't get in the way of.
It doesn't feel weird. It balances it so well.
Exactly. I feel like the humor isn't something that we need to kind of like write off and be like, well, you know, it's funny because this. It's like, oh no, this makes sense, right? God, I want to talk so much more about this. This has been our spoiler-free review of Expedition 33. Once we get back from a word from our sponsors, we're going full spoilers, baby, starting with the end.
Here's an ad.
This episode is sponsored by Subway Surfers, the goated endless runner that carried me through middle school, high school, college, and now adulthood is celebrating their 13th birthday, which also marks their 200th World Tour update. And they're going big because Subway Surfers decided to travel to not one, not two, but 21 different locations in their 200th World Tour special event. As Kinda Funny's resident Zoomer, I can seriously say that I adore Subway Surfers. It's one of my favorite comfort games. Grabbing items, completing challenges, and pulling out a hoverboard right as I'm about to hit a train feels just as good now as it did when I was sitting in the back of Mr. Coburn's Spanish class. Play through all 21 destinations to unlock amazing rewards such as characters, hoverboards, and in-game currency. Just tap the 200th World Tour button on the screen to start playing. And exclusively for best friends, head over to kindafunny.com/subwaysurfers or scan the QR code on screen to get a ton of special in-game rewards. The update ends on June 1st, so scan that QR code, download Subway Surfers, and start running if you don't want to miss out on all the rewards. I already did. This episode is brought to you by Factor. When life gets busy, food can sometimes feel like a chore, and the fast food trips can go from a weekly to daily occurrence very fast. So buck those trends and make this season your best with nutritious 2-minute meals from Factor. Eating well has never been this easy. Just heat up and enjoy, giving you more time to do what you want. With 45 weekly menu options, you can pick gourmet meals that fit your goals. Choose from Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, Keto, and more. We at Kinda Funny love Factor meals. Bless and Greg love it for a quick lunch in between shows, and I adore it as a healthier alternative instead of the dreaded hump day, too tired to cook, drive-through run, helping me to get on track with my goals. Get started at factormeals.com/kindafunny50off and use code kindafunny50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code kindafunny50off at factormeals.com/kindafunny50off for 50% off plus free shipping. Factormeals.com/kindafunny50off.
And we're back. We're in spoiler mode, everybody. Bless and I are about to spoil the living hell out of Expedition 33. I have to start at the end. This is a game where we're not given many choices, Bless.
No.
This is a Final Fantasy RPG in all the classic sense of you're along for a story here. You're not really changing things until the very end.
Yep.
You have to make a choice. Are you choosing Verso? Or are you choosing Mael?
This is one of the most controversial video game choices since Life is Strange 1. I don't know if you ever played Life is Strange 1 or have heard the discourse about the ending choice, but like that's one of those ones where everybody has a very strong opinion about what the right choice is. And this was one of those scenarios where, and this is rare for me, maybe this is a first for me, where I made my choice because I knew where my allegiance lied. I chose Mael because I think partly because I spent most of the game with Mael as like my main party member, right? Like I leaned all the way into her combat system, loved playing as her, and then also like Verso, I got the fuck out of here halfway through the game. There was a boss fight where like Verso was in my team, and then like that boss fight made me realize that Verso just wasn't doing what I needed him to do.
Me and you had the exact same experience
Yeah.
with this game. That's so
I was like, Verso,
funny.
you're out, Minoko.
You're out.
Get the fuck in
Get
there.
in here,
Get in here,
boy.
Minoko. Get in here, Lune. And so like that's what I did. So I was leaning towards Mael because of that, but then also I think story-wise, the way the game orients you leading into the third act and like going through learning what the nature of the painting is and like what Renoir's motivations are and what the paintress is and all that stuff, right? Like I think the game teaches you that the Mael and the team of expeditioners are the ones like fighting for life and doing all this stuff, right? And so like I think as I made the Mael choice, I was still in that mind frame, but then seeing the cutscene after, and then like, well, seeing the cutscene after, I think made me feel this feeling of like, I don't feel good.
Yeah.
Like, this didn't make me feel good, which is beautiful because games don't have to make you feel good. The stories aren't like meant to automatically make you feel good, right? So like, I think there was something about that made me go, did I make the wrong choice here? Is this really about is this about the process of grief and I guess like facing reality to some extent? And so I went back yesterday and I replayed the ending, and then I watched Verso's thing, and Verso's ending also very sad, but felt more right. And so I think I lean more towards Verso's ending being, I guess, my canon ending, even though originally I chose Mael. What about you?
I also chose Mael for very similar reasons. I feel like she was one of my go-tos throughout the game. She wasn't from the jump, though. I got her out pretty early, and eventually she made her way back in, and I feel like some of that was story-based. Like, I think that this is an ensemble cast, and obviously you would imagine that Gustav is the kind of lead, but then you learn pretty quickly, no, he's not, right? And him getting replaced by Verso, I obviously love Ben Starr's performance as Verso. Mm-hmm. I do think Verso's one of my least favorite characters in the game, though. Like, and that's probably just because I was attached to Gustav. They did their job, right? Yeah. And over time, definitely, as the story elements kind of added up, he started winning me over. But at that point, I feel like I was sympathetic and vibing with Mael and her story and the grief she was dealing with, because I was kind of feeling it too.
Yeah.
You know, she just lost Gustav. So did I, you know?
Yep.
And also just her being on the menu screen and the music that's playing being like hers. I kind of see her as, if there had to be a main character, it's her. So by the time we got to the end, even though getting to that choice felt a little like, oh, whoa, we have to do this? Like, well, you guys are against each other on this? I was like, I gotta go with my girl here. And then you see that cutscene, and I felt like shit.
Yeah.
But I loved it though.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it was very earned. It was set up and earned, and I believe it. And I understand the desire to be like, if I was in this position, I would move on. I don't know that the majority of people would.
No, we wouldn't.
You know?
Absolutely not.
And I think that there's something beautiful about that. And also that everyone's in their own positions. And like, if you were given the opportunity to not have everything you love taken from you.
Dude, like, I mean, you look at, that's why I think that was the tough thing for me, was looking at Mael's point of view and being like, do you want to stay in this world with these people that you built relationships with? And this is, as far as, I guess, Mael has her, does she at that point have her memories from living outside the painting? I'm not unclear.
At that point, yeah.
So like at that point, I guess she has kind of both things, but like she kind of grew up in the painting as well at the same time. And knowing what her life is outside of the painting, that is filled with grief, that is filled with pain, that like she can't even speak the way that she wants to. I think I just identified with the idea of like, no, I get it.
Yeah. And it's so dark. But again, earned, and I don't think like just like dark for dark's sake or anything. I'm like, oh, this is the end, and I buy it, and I'm here for it. Then of course, immediately boot it right back up. Yep. I gotta go Verso. And because I want to see what the other ending was, but also because while I wasn't fully vibing with Verso and he was winning me over throughout the game, it wasn't until choosing Mael and the dialogue that Verso has with Mael that I'm like, Verso's the right choice.
Yeah.
You know? And like that's before I even saw his ending. Just the way he responds to it with the whole like, I don't want this life. Like, oh man, we're getting some real good stuff here. And then seeing Verso's ending, it's like incredibly tragic and dark as well, but also incredibly earned. I don't know that I've ever seen a game specifically present two endings that I am equally happy with that are so different, but that both were built up to, I think, perfectly. I think both of these could be the canon ending. And I also kind of like they're not needing to be a canon ending. And we'll see what they do with the sequels and stuff. But where they ended up in this, I just think was so beyond my expectations. And the fact that we even had a choice and the fact that there are two outcomes and there's enough to talk about and enough to debate what is right and what is wrong and what would you do and all of that. Like, it's in a world where we are 10 years removed and still talking about Joel's choice at the end of The Last of Us and the ethics of it and what's right, what's wrong, what we would do. I think this game kind of presents all of that stuff in such a beautiful way with so much artistry that it really does put a nice bow on the game of making the entire story feel like one of those beautiful epic poems that you would read in high school that you're like, damn, how they have bars like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it's like, you're reading through it and you're like, I don't really fully understand what's going on. But by the end, it's like, oh, they were getting here and they pulled it off.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, whoever put together the bones of this story, y'all were going through something. Like, whoever like wrote some of this dialogue, it's like, what were you feeling? Because I feel it now. And I think one of the things I want to commend this game on, you mentioned that by the end of it, Mayel feels like the main character. I'm somebody who I never watched through Game of Thrones, but I know the broad strokes as far as like big story moments that kill a main character. And now like people are like, whoa, that's crazy that they did that. And then you go on and the story continues and you find new characters, right? I think this game does that. Literally, and also just in terms of structurally how Act 1, the main character is Gustav. Act 2, the main character is Verso. And then Act 3, the main character is Mayel. In fact, I think the acts are named after them. Yeah. And I was impressed by how seamlessly that worked for me. Of course, Act 1 and Act 2, they literally like have to cut you off from Gustav, right? Which we'll talk about it in a second. But I want to ask the question of like, were you surprised that they'd never brought back Gustav? Because you look at the skill tree and I was like, oh, he'll be back.
Yeah.
And then he never came back. And I was like, dude, shit.
And that was like, I haven't, like, that is such a surprise. How the fuck did we just get a main character in an RPG die and it hit us this way?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, oh, been there, done that. No, man, like, this was wild. And, we do technically get him back in the very end of If You Choose My L story, kind of.
Sure,
like, storyline wise, at least. But yeah, no, I thought we were getting him back. I also didn't expect him to die, period. But I did not expect him to die the way he did as early as he did. Like, it was like such a, the fact that this game can have so many discussion points where you're like, how far are you? Okay, cool. Talk to me.
We'll talk to you later.
And it's like, you don't want to spoil the things, but like, it has such great, once you know the whole thing, it's like the Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, like it's so well designed to have these gigantic moments that have so much to break down and talk about. And like, feel your freaking feelings about, man. Like, some real stuff happens here where you're like, I care so much about this squad.
So to go from, they do that transition from Gustav to Verso, which is a little sudden, but then also like, it's like, okay, well, that's what this world is. Like, it is death, it is destruction, right? And then the transition from Verso to Mayel felt so seamless. Because as soon as Mayel's act starts, I had no question of, oh yeah, this is my main character. Like, and I don't know when that happened. I don't know when I made the turn to, like, because Verso was that. Like, I was like, okay, this game's about Verso.
Yeah, for sure.
And then very naturally, I was like, oh yeah, the Mayel is the main character here.
Yeah, dude, there's so much great stuff, and main
it's
character
so
doesn't need to be good, and also doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad with the choices they make and things that they do. I'm so impressed with how the game is structured, where I feel like the majority of people playing, once they're in Act 2, towards the end, you're like, okay, cool, it's at the end of the game.
Yeah, dude. I literally
We're doing
texted
it.
people. I texted one of my friends. I was like, okay, cool. Hey, I just beat this game, so I'm down to go to the gym now or whatever. And I come back and I was like, this is still going.
Like, we got a lot more. And, I think that I've already seen people disagree with me on this, because I've seen a lot of people talk about how this felt like, to bring up Last of Us again, Last of Us 2, kind of the Santa Monica section, where it's like, oh yeah, there's more.
Yeah.
But like, and like story-wise, it makes sense, but like, it does kind of just feel like there's just more just to have more. And I really disagree.
Yeah, I disagree
to me,
wholeheartedly.
Like I'm gonna bring up The Tomorrow War, a movie that I fucking loved. And something that I loved so much about it, light spoilers for The Tomorrow War on Amazon Prime. I was so shocked that it felt like a trilogy of action movies in one movie, where it's like we kind of get to a point pretty early on where it's like, oh, that would have been the end of film one in a trilogy. And then you get to the second part, you're like, oh, well, they just beat the big bad. What are they going to do next? And then you just get an entirely different take on it. And I was like, whoa, this is cool. But this is the example of that done so much better with a cast of characters that I've spent dozens of hours with, and I care so much. And the moment that we get into the real world in the beginning of Act 3, after we face off against the Paintress, and the Paintress heals you, Bless.
Oh my God, yeah.
She heals you.
Yeah.
Okay?
Incredible
Incredible stuff. Well, insane.
It's funny because
music
I was so concerned at that segment because I was down to my last stand, and my characters had so low health, and they also had burn. And so when I saw there was one more section left of that fight, I was like, oh no, I literally was like, oh, I'm gonna die. And then she healed me, and I was like, goated. This game is fucking goated.
It is, man. It makes you really like question things and fear for what's going on. It's so good. But then you get to it and they start answering questions that you weren't asking.
Yeah.
And they're also answering questions that you were, while also introducing concepts that I again, I'm going back to like criticisms I've seen people be like, oh, we didn't get enough about the writers and we didn't get enough about I love that.
Yeah.
I love that we got just enough for me to be like, holy crap, I didn't know that I could be even more compelled by the story and world of this. But the idea of a war between writers and painters because they're able to make worlds that actually exist, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
That is the dopest thing I have ever heard. And I feel like they did just enough to have us think about this world that doesn't currently exist yet. That's what a sequel's for. What's the sequel going to do? Is it going to be in the real world dealing with that? Is it going to be going into a different painting? By the way, the painting that we're in being Verso's fucking painting and being his like his little homies that he made up are like all the people. What are we doing, man? This is perfect.
It's so cool. It's so cool. Yeah, getting that I guess, yeah, I would call it a twist, right? Of like, yeah, being outside the paint. I guess for sure it's a twist because you finish the expedition and it's like, all right, cool, game beat, and then fucking everybody gets taken away. Fucking cool. But yeah, getting then outside the painting and then sort of the backstory. At first, I was like, what is going on here? But then I think it adds a lot as far as questions we had about the world, right? And like what is this? But then also I think then starts to paint. No, I mean, pun intended. It starts to paint the themes as far as the grief they're going through and putting your grief in your art or putting your grief into something, and like how much of that can you do until you take it too far, right? Like it started to make me think about the game in a deeper way. And then the fact that it is Verso and Alicia's parents that are like then having this thing of, do we get rid of this thing that was created by this person that we're grieving, and like kind of like having this as last remnants of him and finding some solace in it. But then I don't know, it goes deep in a way that I fucking loved and had my brain just turning, and I love when games do that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I love even just like how expanded everything feels, like the twist in terms of Renoir, where,
oh my God,
and also the performance. Andy Serkis absolutely crushing it. But
nailed it.
Every appearance the character has in the game is like such a pivotal moment. Like I feel like that is like all right, lock in. I want to hear every word being said. We're building here. And I think they did such a good job of keeping the air of mystery throughout the game while also like giving us stuff. It wasn't just like big mystery box bullshit. Like it all actually does add up to, oh, cool, there was a design around all this stuff. It's not all just pretty floating goop.
Yeah.
You know,
yes.
It all has a reason and a design language to it all. And I'm not even just talking about visually. I'm talking about like in terms of why this world is the way that it is.
Yeah, why everything is kind of abstract and weird, and like why you can kind of see the Eiffel Tower, but it's like a weird version of the Eiffel Tower. It's because this kid was painting this shit, right? It was his interpretation of it.
It's so cool. And I was so fascinated by the sister character in the real world.
Clea?
Yeah.
Or is that the mom? I always get them. No, Aline. Clea.
Aline's the paintress. Clea is the sister.
Okay, I get them mixed up.
The very, very minor back and forth we get with that character, I think is so cool because it's, again, just like allows you to expand your thoughts on what's happening out there so much, where it's not this like clear good bad. What happened with the fire? Why was it caused? How was it caused?
I think that was my one thing where I was like, oh, I kind of wanted more on that. I understand why they didn't, because that's not what the story isn't about, like what caused the fire, right? The story is about the result. But I was confused for a second, because I was like, did I miss it? Because this you cut to that, and it is, I think, Verso, right, standing in the fire and turning, and then like us learning what the fuck happened. But yeah, I think I would have wanted like a little bit of context around that.
I feel like the context is there. Like I feel like they to me, they did a great job of like putting all the pieces there that you can like put the string and be like, okay, cool, this is what happened.
Yeah.
But I feel like all we need to know is that there is a war either brewing or active between writers and painters. And yeah, that's what happened. Like the writers started the fire. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But why was Alicia dealing with them? How was she dealing with them? Like why was she the cause of this? Like that to me is so freaking fascinating. And her being in the state that she's in now, like we're not going to know. Unless maybe I don't know. Like,
I mean, I don't think so. For me, this is the end of this story. I think if we see sequels or if we see spinoffs or whatever, I imagine it's going to be maybe an entirely different painting, or maybe it's a writer story. Maybe we get the story of like one of those written notes or poems or whatever it is, right? And like it is an entirely different thing. But I don't think we're seeing. I don't think we're seeing more from the Desandra family, and nor do I want to see more. Like for me, I'm so satisfied with where we've left this off.
Again, this goes back to my overall thoughts on this of like wanting just more of this. Like I feel like I'd be satisfied anyway. I feel like there's so much more they could do with that family and that part of the world. But also, if they just did something different within the broader world, or in a different painting, or in a writer story, there's just so many like ways
options
that they can make this all work. And
I think my big thing is this story that they told here feels so full circle, especially with the choices that you're given. Of this is being a story about, I guess, like grief would probably be the biggest theme here, right? Like I feel like we got it. I feel like from introducing Gustav Mayel, getting to Versal's part of the story, getting to what actually happened, and then having those final confrontations between the expedition and Renoir, and then Verso and Mayel, it feels so perfect. I don't know how you add anything to that story without opening up a can of worms again and having to like maybe find what the next major theme is, or the major thing being told here is. Like I think this is you clip this off and find an entirely different thing.
Yeah, I mean, fuck, man, it is great though that I just want more. Yeah. Because it's just, I want to keep playing. Like there's so much fun post-game content to just go back and do. Again, the combat is just so satisfying, and revisiting the worlds, there's like just a lot of cool shit to find and different like strategies to play off. And like, it's just so fun seeing the numbers go up, and they go up real big in this game.
Oh, I've seen. Yeah, I've heard about like broken builds and shit. And I'm like, I wish I never got to that point. I kind of wish I did. But also I don't know, now we're talking about like the future or whatever. But I'm so fascinated by this studio and what their plans are, from the perspective of they put in a lot of work into this game. Mm-hmm. They established a combat system. They established a system where any new character has their own systems that feel fresh, that I feel like you can keep doing that. And like I wonder for them, as far as the way they think about the games, right? I wonder if they're in a place where, all right, we did all this work on Clair Obscur. We're gonna continue like using the bones of this in our sequels. Good. Whether it is even a new game, right? It's still gonna work off of this turn-based, because I would not blame. I think that would be probably smart in a lot of in a lot of senses, because they got something here. Mm-hmm. But I would love to see their interpretations of like 5 new characters in this same combat system, just to see what that looks like, because I think that could work really well.
Yeah, and I think it'll be fire. Like I think that each character will have like a bunch of abilities that we're like, wow, these work so well with the other characters. Like very cool stuff. We have a whole bunch of super chats that I do want to get to. JB says Renoir was right.
I mean, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing, is I think that the game doesn't question what's right and wrong, but it's more just about like
your interpretation,
how people deal with things, So it's like, it is. Yeah. I feel like from different perspectives, there are people that are right and wrong in this, but everyone has their own needs and their own desires, and where that all kind of matches out, I think is very,
I'll say
very interesting.
Renoir wasn't wrong. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? that's more my feeling is like, I totally understand where Renoir's coming from.
Shay Slay says, are y'all reviewing Rune Factory? No, I don't think there's any interest here from anybody. CJ Splitson says, the moral of the story is go touch grass. I mean, I feel like I don't know that that's my takeaway, but
yeah, I'd be curious to hear more of what you mean as far as like that being the moral.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a good moral overall.
Because I guess they were. I mean, yeah, that's a good. I mean, good moral for life.
Yeah.
But I guess I could see it from the perspective of a lot of this is caused by people getting lost in the paintings. And, but like again, that's grief.
Yeah.
They can go touch grass, right? But that's not going to bring their son back.
Yeah, getting lost in paintings is not necessarily a bad thing. You know, we played Mario 64.
How many times do you think about Mario 64 while playing this game? Yeah, same.
A fucking lot.
I thought
especially once we got into Act 3, I was like, yeah.
I was like, when are we going to jump into an actual painting here?
Bob on Battlefield, let's go.
Yeah, God.
CJ Splitson says, is this the best feeling parry in gaming?
I'm gonna put it, if I'm ranking the parries, I'm gonna put it at number 2. Behind Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. Okay. I still think the Sekiro parry is unrivaled as far as how good it feels, but I think this is a number 2.
Number 2, that's very high.
Very high.
I didn't expect that from you. I feel like I'm not qualified to really get my thoughts on it, but I will say that it feels damn good.
It feels so good.
And I can pull it off.
Especially when you pull off multiple at the same, or multiple in one go.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Dean8149 says, so excited to get to this once I finish just one more Blueprints run.
We were just talking about
Great time for games, man. I do love that the conversation right now is two like budget priced games from unknown devs that just put out absolute bangers.
Dude, I'm telling you, the independent space is going to be so vital for putting out unique, and I mean, this has been true for a very long time, but I also think like going forward, as we're talking about shareholders and how money is drying up a bit, right? And like how AAA is often having to resort to like maybe canceling the games that might be a bit more unique or interesting or whatever, right? I think it's going to be a lot up to devs like Sandfall or devs like the ones who made Blueprints and Larian for Baldur's Gate 3, Hades, right? I think it's going to be up to those folks to really put out the bangers in the future.
Louis says, did they create their own Final Fantasy universe, as now they can go into any painting or world and it can be a whole new story without playing the previous games? Yeah, I mean, I do think that that's it's interesting. I mean, I feel like there is so much potential, and look, the talent's here. They've proven it. Like, they can pull this off. Like, everything about this game is impressive at the very least. Like the fact that it's a $50 title that was on Game Pass, that it runs this well. I played it majority on Steam Deck just because I was traveling a whole bunch. And yeah, it wasn't the prettiest version of it, but it worked.
It worked. Yeah,
damn well. Yeah, I think that there's a lot going on here, and I think to this, they definitely could. And I think that they could almost pull a better version of the Assassin's Creed thing of, yeah, these are all games that take place in different timelines or whatever, but there's this animus. There is this like real world story that is building.
Oh, that would go so hard.
And I, if they have the talent and if they just stick to it and like grow correctly and don't just annualize this or turn it into like a disaster, I think that, yeah, there could be a lot of different painting or writing, or I've seen people in the chat talk about music. Like, what if there are other art disciplines as well?
Yeah.
Like, very cool ideas. That those be the games, but then there is this like story building and that the real world that could be pretty damn cool.
The only thing with that is I if we're talking about a sequel to this coming out every 5 or 6 years, I don't know if I can handle that, but I do wonder what their timeline looks like as far as putting out another one of these, or if they want to put out. I hope they want to put out another one of these, right? Like,
I know
if they could hit every 3 years. Then yeah, like I think a real world in the background story building over time could be the fucking sickest thing.
And the
ever.
thing is, I think that they could. Like, I feel like from what we've heard, this was like a 5-year development cycle. Obviously, they're going to have a lot more support now than they did before. And I do think that if anything, it proves it doesn't need to reinvent the wheel in a bazillion different ways. Just do something very well. We got 3 Final Fantasy 13 games. You know, we always talk about Final Fantasy like 7, 8, 9, like how'd they come out, and 10 even, how'd they come out so close together? And that was crazy. We're talking about some of the best games ever. Final Fantasy 13 trilogy, I get not so much. Like I understand that the level of quality is not what we want from this. But my point is, I do think that with the right direction and the right producers involved in terms of funding and keeping everything on track, there's potential for them to really do something special in the space that we haven't seen since the glory days of RPGs back in the day.
Yeah. God, I hope so.
Yeah.
It's such a balance because I think to your point, you said like don't want to see it annualized, and I think there is that like I think you could either put these games out too quickly or too slowly. Like there's like I think a sweet spot as far as like what you want to do narratively and building the if you want to build the universe. Like I think that's going to be tough to do while also maintaining I think the freshness of it and having people go, oh wow, this is like I think the advantage that this game has is that this is kind of unlike anything I've seen before in a lot of ways, not in every way, but like in a lot of ways as far as what they're doing art direction and like tonally. I'm like, oh man, this feels very fresh as a video game. If they give us something very similar 3 years from now, I think most of us will still be like, oh, this is fucking good, right? But is it going to lose that spice?
Yeah.
It is going to lose that, you know, that original hit.
And that always happens, right?
That always happens.
I feel like majority of people lose the shininess for sequels because it's not the first time, right?
Yeah.
And
but like,
God, this first time hit hard.
God,
like,
the first time
like
hit
that's
hard.
the thing is like it's you said it earlier, but like starting with an Infinity War level of investment and feeling, oof, you can't do that again.
Yeah.
Like it's just that is special. Jakeson says, did anyone get any save file issues? I had a day off and played about 5 hours and it was auto saving. I left and came back and I only have a new game. Damn, that sucks.
Oh,
no,
that sucks.
I didn't.
Yeah,
I'm
it's been
so
fine
sorry,
for me.
Though. Metal Gear Gaming says
Why do the blueprints do me like this?
So sorry, Kevin.
I hate it.
The QTEs are perfect. They have precise purpose rather than just to keep you engaged during a cutscene. They feel more strategic than tacked on. Yeah, you know, I mean, this game really is about. It's as much Parappa the Rapper as it is Final Fantasy.
I dig that.
You know what I mean?
That,
it's just like, it's like you just kind of memorize like the different patterns and stuff, and then you just perform them. And I feel like once you start to understand, like, all right, cool, you're Gustav, and then it's A, or X, whatever. But then you do another one, and it's like XX, and you have to do it so fast.
Yeah.
And the first time you do it, you're like, fuck, this is overwhelming. But then the 100th time you do it, you're like, bah, motherfucker.
You're hitting it every single time. Yeah, I think for me, like the only times where those would really catch me off guard would be the ones where it's like immediately, caca, like those ones would fuck me up. But then after I got used to those ones, the QTEs became kind of natural in my brain to where they kind of were routine, but I don't think it was bad routine. I think it was good routine because honestly, the parries and the dodges is where I want my brain to be locked in. Like I don't need the QTEs to be fucking tough on top of the parries. It's like the parries are enough.
Yeah, that's very, very true. Mellifella says, what's your fave boss, boys? Mine has to be the Duelist, that song. The Duelist was, for me, the moment that the game kind of picked up in terms of the music matching the epicness. And obviously that matters a lot to me. But before that, we get the one that kills Gustav. I forget what his name is. The Keymaster?
Oh, man.
Keyhead?
That was a while ago for me now.
Whatever it was. And that was cool, but Duelist was definitely the one where I was like, oh shit, we're cooking here.
I forget when you fight the Duelist.
Lampmaster, not Keymaster. There we go. Duelist is like maybe 2-3 hours after Gustav dies.
Okay.
When you fall pretty damn far down.
Oh yeah, I remember the Duelist. I don't fuck with it.
That was the one that kicked up for me of like, oh shit, like I'm hella engaged. This feels hype as hell. But I think that my favorite boss overall was the Paintress at the end, like, or end of Act 2.
Oh yeah.
But like that stuff that had the vibes that I loved so much about the end of Final Fantasy 7 or the end of Final Fantasy 10 of like, yo, we're all here. We got the squad. It's an all-out assault on this like insurmountable obstacle.
Well, the Paintress had the phase where like everything goes giant and then like you're on top of SKA and then she's like throwing the fucking projectiles and it's like you have a zoomed out view. That shit was insane.
Love that stuff.
Yeah, that one was great. I think my favorite might have been the face one, like the visages, the mask one, because I did not do the thing of going and like I think if you go the different routes, you can take out like some of the masks to then make that boss easier. I didn't do that.
Yeah.
And so
Ooh,
that shit
must have
was
took a while.
that shit was hard. But that was where I started to lock in on combat and really
You
like
had to. I mean, I think that I mean, from everyone I've talked to, that seems to be the skill check moment of the game. Of like, cool, you understand parrying. That's cute. You need to understand abilities, motherfucker.
Yep.
You need to understand the different systems here, or else this guy's just gonna keep healing. This guy's he's gonna get the better of you over time.
What was your favorite Pictos? Have a real conversation here.
Yeah. I'm having the problem that this has now been a couple weeks since I've touched the game. But I was a big fan of any of the ones that gets you the AP early in the
early in
so
the
you're
fight.
just like ready to go and like just jumping in there and like starting to use the abilities, because I feel like otherwise there is that kind of like 1 or 2 turn kind of like not waste, but just like okay, cool, let's just get through this to like get the AP. So I really liked like being able to jump in there, especially once I have my Charlie's Angels out there.
Yeah. It's funny because now I'm realizing what came to mind. I don't think it is the Pictos. There comes an ability. Oh no, it's the weapon. It's like the big weapon you get with Mael, that every attack you do against an enemy that has a shield gets you that shield. That one, not a Pictos, but like that ability goes fucking hard.
What a guy says, roulette, baby. I never use roulette.
You're crazy.
Yeah.
You're
well,
crazy.
that is the thing too, is like once you start realizing that critical hits matter so much more than like attack damage or like so many other stat points.
Yeah.
Once I started just like putting a lot of my stat points into the critical hit stuff, then I was like using a lot of the Pictos and Lumios that are just like enhancing my critical chance anyways, because then you're just ripping through the enemies.
I love hearing about people's strategies, because like so much of my strategy revolved around burn, which ended up not being as great in the second half, because like I realized I was using Mael had a weapon that I believe automatically inflicted burn, and so I started to make my whole strategy around that. And I would start off with each fight, attack everybody with Mael, burn everybody, use CL. She has like a move that applies Fortell to anybody with burn. I was like, oh, we're cooking.
Oh, you're
cooking.
You're so fucked now.
And then I had to switch my weapon with Mael because I just wasn't keeping up with like the level of it. And oh man, that shit, I had to adjust.
Dude, and we're talking spoilers here.
Yeah.
CL, my girl. You know, I love that we get this cast of characters and we don't get the full on Final Fantasy VII and remake style, like a Rebirth specifically style of like, and now we're gonna do Barrett's story. And now we're gonna do. It's not so much that, but the support system of being back at camp and being able to talk to each of the people and getting those special moments right in the journal. All that stuff hit so hard for me. Every single time.
Perfect.
I was like, I need more of this. And as you start getting the different relationships between the characters, I was so in, and learning about CL's backstory and her relationship with Verso and her relationship with who she lost. Right? Like, oh man, it hits so hard. And I'm like, damn, this is why this game's great. Like, there's a million things we could say, but like the supporting cast we love and believe in and care about. Like, one of the most heartbreaking moments of this game, like one of the most emotionally resonant things of this game for me, is when you choose Verso's ending and Lune just looks at you and just slowly sits down, and it's just like, fuck.
Yeah.
God, that hits.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, dude. It's a good game. It's a good game.
Good game, everyone. ERPG says Child Verso created most of the world, the Gestrels, Grandis, and Esquier. Aline made Lumiere and all the humans to escape her grief, adding sadness to the world, and why only they Gamage.
Interesting. Okay, I didn't put that together. I did. You want to talk about like heart-wrenching moments? For me, it was the ending where Verso approaches like, I guess, his childhood soul that is like painting and is like talking to him. Oh my god, that shit hurt.
Yeah,
that shit hurt.
God, and even throughout the game, finding all of the like
the remnants or whatever.
Yeah, just like the disappearing like paint people that all have like bits of a story. It's so tragic. And and then all of the dead expeditioners everywhere. Like, God, the beginning of this game, obviously the first Gommage we see.
So good.
It's so good. I learned that Gommage means erasure.
Yes, in French,
which is fucking cool.
Yeah.
But that stuff was like hitting so hard, and then the moment you go out on your expedition, which is pretty much immediately after the initial scene, you are greeted with one of the most violent, insane openings ever. Like the team just getting destroyed. Like I was like, oh, we're fucked.
Yeah.
Like there's
Dude,
how are we
Renoir
gonna survive this?
Renoir is sick as hell, dude.
Yeah.
Like every scene you mentioned earlier, every scene with Renoir goes fucking hard. And I love that character. I think even more, it's not just the performance, even though I do like the performance a lot, but it's just like they gave him the sickest combat animations.
Oh, yeah.
Like just him doing this.
Oh, come on.
Just
dude.
the
With that
swipe of the
cane.
arm, just
so sick.
taking people out.
Dude, that was so good, but I loved getting into Act 3 and then having we got to get the team together. I'm such a sucker for that shit.
Yep.
But when the team is a bunch of the dead expeditioners and
Oh,
we're assembling this army,
dude,
holy crap.
I was surprised by how quick that segment went by, though. I thought totally that it was going to be another, all right, now as a player, go here, here, and here and collect all of the chroma or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm kind of fine.
Montage.
Yeah, I'm kind of fine that it was a montage, but I wonder if that was like a thing where they were like, okay, we're gonna have the player do this, and in development they're like, fuck that, we ain't got the time for this shit.
Yeah. There's another thing though that I want to talk about which is the subtlety of some of the character development and like how much stuff that you can miss that's optional in this. Like I feel like some of the most resonant good storytelling is the side conversation. So like if you're playing this game, go to the camp, talk to everybody.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna get so much from it. But even in the beginning, like when you first start up this game, take your time in the prologue area. There's like so much cool world building stuff because they kind of throw you in to the deep end. If you don't know the premise of this game, it can be kind of confusing.
Yeah.
But if you do, it's really fascinating. And I actually went back after beating it just because I was like, I felt like I sped through the prologue the first time. And just walking around and getting to learn like where Lumiere is at with the context of the whole story they go on is so fascinating. And I'm blanking on her character's name. Is it Sophia? Gustav's
Oh, the
ex?
one. Sophie? Is it
Sophie? Sophia? It's one of the two. I think probably Sophie.
Like Sophie with a accent egg U on the E.
Yeah. Like the story between the two of them might have been explicitly said at some point in a required way. But the more you kind of talk to all the characters around in the prologue and to her and the game starting with you and Mael, like going to see her and all that stuff, you start to realize there's this like deep conversation about having children and what that means in a world where if you were to have a child now, when we're at Expedition 33, you are dooming that child most likely to die by the age
like 14,
of
13?
9, whatever it
Damn,
is,
yeah.
right? And like these are the type of things that are like, oh, that's fucking good stuff. And the reason that Sophia and Gustav broke up is because they couldn't decide about the ethics of having a child. That's some good fucking stuff, man.
Some real good shit.
Right?
I also did the thing where I rushed through the prologue. Like I tried to talk to people, but I was like, okay, there's a lot of people to talk to, and so I just ended up going through it. But now, honestly, this game does a thing that I love, where now I'm kind of like, yo, I should replay the whole thing.
I know.
You talk about like the conversations you have with like the people that are fading or whatever, and it's like, oh, now that I have the context, I want to go back and see all those conversations.
Yeah, me too. And it's a thing where like I'm so happy that this game's available in as many places as it is. I play it on Steam, which led me to play on Steam Deck, and then on my high-powered PC on my TV as well. And I loved both ways. Obviously loved on the TV a lot better, just in terms of performance, because this game is stunning.
Yep.
And it pained me to like drop the settings, but I do wish I played it on PlayStation because I would have been incentivized to want to platinum it and want to go back and do everything. And it's the dumb goopy gamer goblin brain I have is not allowing me to be like, well, I can still do that on Steam. For some reason, I'm like, nah. But now here's where I'm at now, Bless.
Yeah.
Why am I thinking this way? I'm like, well, eventually this game is going to be announced for Switch too. And I don't know why that excites me.
I mean, you could also just replay it on PlayStation for the trophies.
I know, but I'm thinking if I'm replaying this, I do feel like that'll be a travel thing. That'll be like I'm chilling in bed or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I just want all the success for this game, and I hope it all checks out. CJ Splitson says mature adult stories, a miscarriage story. Yeah, that's handled well. Like I feel like this stuff, they don't shy away from like real shit in this.
Yeah, and that's I wanted to mention this earlier, like toward the middle part of the show, because we're talking about how this game totally like, you know, goes into very serious places, right? And like how that compares to other things. Like I don't want to take it away that other JRPGs oftentimes can be an art serious, and like again, I think this game takes so much from Nier that also I think has really good serious shit going on. But I think it's I don't know. I think stylistically what it does, like combined with kind of the subject matter combined with the realistic presentation of its characters, like I don't know, it makes for a mix that makes me feel like I am watching like a French indie film.
Dude, yeah.
Yeah.
It's, that's
It's
life.
so good.
It's the combination of the good and the bad.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're feeling wee. Sometimes you're feeling woo.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
There we go.
I like that.
That would be a great place to end, but I'm not going to because we had a couple more super chats here. Limstar says, safe to say Jennifer English's work is one of the greatest of all time. It's that good.
Who is she?
Male.
Yeah, she
incredible
was great.
stuff, right? Like really incredible stuff. We've been saying this, but shout out to Ben Starr.
Shout out
Like,
to Ben Starr.
my
Oh my
God.
gosh.
Him singing in the credits.
Oh my god.
Come on, man.
He's so
Yeah,
good.
he's so good. Andy Serkis crushed it. Charlie Cox, surprisingly good. And I say that just because we hear, okay, it's an actor, their first video game, what's that going to look like? Impeccable. Absolutely impeccable.
There's some line delivery from Mayel in the last fight versus Verso that like I had to do that fight a few times because when I did Verso's ending, my Verso was not leveled up for me because I stopped using him. And so I lost like 3 times and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go into the menus, redo my pictos and all that stuff. But like there are certain scenes where she's pleading to Verso of like stop, like all this stuff, and just the inflection, like the delivery is so fucking good.
It's so fucking good, man. This is the type of game that is going to get a full orchestra concert at some point.
Yeah.
I'm there day one, bless.
Hell
And
yeah.
I hope you're all alongside me.
I want to be there.
Mr. Hawk says, before the patch, I hit 21 million damage on a single hit. Hell
Jesus.
yeah.
Send me the build.
And then the final one for today comes from Golden Spider saying, how likely do you think Expedition 33 will win Game of the Year this year? To me, it's a no-brainer. Only thing I can possibly see challenging it is Death Stranding 2. Before you jump in, because you have hands-on experience with Death Stranding 2. I think that it is incredibly likely that Expedition 33 wins Game of the Year this year.
From who?
From many of the big outlets. So Game Awards, IGN, GameSpot. I could see that happening. I also think it is a fairly easy lock for Kind of Funny.
Oh,
Just
you think
numbers
so?
based. Sheer numbers based, right? Because I feel like the majority of us are going to have it very high on the list. It might not be everyone's number one,
Sure.
but I think it being everyone's number 2 makes it the number 1. Just because of how the numbers add up, right? But
Blueprints is getting robbed.
See, I would be with you, except I think it's a very stacked year. So we're talking about Ghost of Yote. I think that's going to have a big impact, right? I think everybody's going to play Ghost of Yote. What's the other one? I mean, Death Stranding 2.
Yeah.
Mario Kart World.
Yeah.
Metroid Prime 4.
Oh yeah, no, there's a lot of great games. Again, I don't think
I think
that
it'll be
it's a
top
fucking-
5
yeah,
for sure.
For Kind of Funny, yes.
Yeah.
But in terms of like overall, even with the games you named, I do think that this one, I think that this is going to be at the very least in the conversation of, this could win Game of the Year.
I think it's in the conversation at every single outlet.
Yeah.
I think at the very least, people are talking about it, or there will be a person at least from every single outlet that's like, I don't know, it's Clair Obscur Expedition. I think it'll win some. I think this year is going to shape up to be very competitive just because, like, Switch launch and it's like how many banger games come with that, let alone, like when you're talking about the nerds. I mean, Blueprints, of course, is like a personal one, and that's going to be a smaller percentage. But yeah, I think people are going to get split between all these games, and I think some are going to rise.
I think that is an important point to break down. Just talking about Kind of Funny.
Yeah.
I do think that Expedition 33 is that type of special that, despite all the games that you named, I think that some of us are going to love some of them. But I feel like so many of us love this that even if it was the number 2 to all of the, if Ghost is or Death Stranding's your number 1, and Ghost is Greg's number 1, and Donkey Kong's my number 1, or whatever it is, I still think Expedition's going to be most people's top 3. You know, I got just thinking about like Greg's the only one I think that like
that hasn't played it,
that has played it, that is like not gonna have it in their top 5.
I mean, but I think that could be enough. You know what I mean? I think if Greg doesn't have it in his top 5 and everybody has Ghost of Yote in their top 5.
Reminds me of Mike. Mike is the other one. But we're this close to getting Mike.
Yeah, Mike will come around. I think Mike's going to play
That's the thing. Mike just needs to play this, and he'll this motherfucker's out here playing Final Fantasy 13. Like,
Yeah.
he'll love this when he gets to it.
And Suit in chat says Kev votes are weird since not everyone plays all the games. And to that, I'll say nobody at every outlet plays all the games. Like, that's how it works at the wide majority because there's just way too many video games coming out.
This is what kind of funniest game of the year is.
Yeah,
like,
and
from
so
the
like
things they played
to a certain extent, right? It is about the bubble. It is about the community, right? It is about literally. It's called kind of funniest game of the year. So it really is going to come down to how many of us are interested and fascinated and then blown away by a thing. And I think you're right. Clair Obscur is a top contender for that.
But you played Death Stranding.
I think Death Stranding 2 is going to be a top contender for that. I think for sure. I mean, it's a tough thing where I look at you and I'm like, I don't know if it's going to be on your top 5.
Yeah, I mean, Death Stranding 2, I am so blown away by everything I'm seeing. I'm going to start this game up and give it a real shot. I doubt heavily I'm going to stick with it, but I am definitely playing this game.
But that's one that, like, based on seemingly, I assume Roger and Mike are enjoying Death Stranding for the fact that they're beating it today. Like, I think it'll be on the people who fuck with Death Stranding. I think it'll be on all of their top 3s, and I think that'll be like a good handful of us.
Yeah,
but maybe not all of us.
Maybe
probably not all of us. Honestly,
probably not. God.
Games.
Expedition 33. Video games, everyone. Let us know.
Can I shout out the one super chat because they gave a lot of money? Jordan White says, completely unrelated, but I want to hear Blessing's opinion on another generational rap battle that's going on right now. As a New York Kendrick/TDE fan, I'm in heaven, just like last year, but Joey is up right now. Here's what I'll say. Joey Badass's latest diss track, pretty fucking sick. It's actually really great. People are underestimating Rayvon. Rayvon, he's a West Coast rapper. He was part of TDE or still part of TDE, I'm not sure, but like, he put out some diss tracks lately. Oh, he cooking. Yeah. He's cooking. Right now, I'm on the West Coast. I love Joey Badass. But right now, I'm on the side of the West Coast, all right? You got Daylight. You got Rayvon. You got a crew there that's cooking. That's all I'll say on it. They're cooking right now. I'm going to put you on all this.
Please do. Please
you
do.
Would like
I'm very, very out of the loop on all of it. Let us know in the comments below what you thought of Expedition 33 and who you chose at the end, how you feel about that. I really want to know. After this, we're about to do a stream. It is going to be Mike and Roger playing through Death Stranding 1, finishing it up. So they're getting ready to go to the beach. On the beach. Till next time, I love you all. Goodbye.